Welcome to Imperial Advisor episode 15, the After Worlds event. We've got no Andy this week, unfortunately. He's in Sweden doing worky things. But we do have Justin and Baz positioned in the wrong places on my overlay. And Eoin amazingly managing to join us from Chicago airport lounges while he waits to get home from Worlds. We usually do like what have you been doing, how have your games gone, but I guess let's one of our games has been more important. So Eoin, how's your weekend been?
Not as well as I'd like. It was okay. So Worlds itself ran as there was a second chance there was basically an intro tournament on the Wednesday. That was fine. Just go up, play 3 games. Anybody grand. And then on Thursday, Friday, and there was actually a qualifier on Wednesday as well. There were qualifiers to get in, and to get in, you needed to basically get 4-2 or better. My difficulty with that, of course, was I went 3-3 on the Thursday, and that was kind of my weekend of playing over, which, given you kind of flew over from Ireland, was not ideal. I far prefer 2 or 3 chances of a grinder if that's the kind of the odds I'm up against. What went wrong in general? I had a bunch of issues that seemed to be kind of endemic to the slight inconsistencies that plague Crab at the moment. And I've got an article I'm working on that'll be Go Up an Imperial Advisor about what I think the problems are and why Crab are seeing the issues that they're currently seeing. I think it's mostly to do with the lack of cheaper personalities available to Crab, that we're a little bit shy at that end, and it's making everything clunk a little bit in the deck. And I think that's making things worse. And there's some other issues as well, and I kind of go through the different issues that are that non-synergy and everything else. I basically came down to I lost to the top dragon in the Swiss when I got paired up, and I lost to another guy who went, I think, 6-0, or no, 5-1, I think. So I hit some tough matchups on the way up, and the deck clunked about a couple of times with me. I got blown out legitimately one game, and that was fine. But the other 2, it was just I couldn't finish Lion, and I couldn't finish Dragon. Basically, that's what it came down to.
And what was the deck you were playing?
I was playing Crab with a Unicorn Splash, kind of a dishonorary build, and that. Yeah, the environment over there is quite heavy on bidding 5 all the time, and that was okay. I could handle that. The problem was that there's a lot of Dragon, or sort of Lion and Crane bidding 5, and they've got that innate bit of more honor gain from randomly honoring their personalities, which made things a little bit tougher as a result. All
right. And then, sort of games aside, how is the sort of turn itself from as a player?
Oh, grand. Still a longish event. Even though it was only 6 rounds of Swiss, you were looking at probably kind of 8 to 9 hour day, including an hour lunch break, of course. But so it's a long enough tournament, even with there's only 6 rounds. Not bad from that point of view. The venue is grand. It's their big kind of custom built games hall, so it's fine. It's in the middle of an industrial park in Minnesota, but at least there are restaurants and stuff around within kind of walking distance, so you're not completely stuck in the middle of nowhere.
All right.
Other than that, prize support was not the best, to be perfectly honest. For signing up, you got a beanie with World Championships on it, and effectively a blank playmat.
Right.
It's a kind of a bluish playmat with a vague Fantasy Flight Games logo on it that I think you're meant to get everyone to sign or something. I don't know. And you got a few promos, not a huge amount.
Okay.
So, yeah. Wouldn't recommend it from a prize support point of view.
Yeah, you're not going to make the money back on your flights and prize support.
No. Unless you did super well and turned in all your tickets really tactically, no. If you were in the States, maybe, but not internationally.
Yeah. Okay, and Baz, I know you watched quite a lot. How is the viewing experience from afar?
I'm impressed by how much they actually did, because they did a full qualifier and then they did the actual the day 2 full. I mean, I sat here and streamed it to my TV and ended up staying up till 4 a.m. Irish time to keep watching everything. I really enjoyed it, and the kind of the banter with some of the people online was a lot of fun. It did kind of feel a bit strange. There was a lot of breaks that kind of felt a little longer than they necessarily needed. And maybe that was something about other tables needing a bit of room to finish up the games. I'm not entirely sure. But I'm really impressed that they actually did do so much streaming. It was really enjoyable to see games played. A lot of it put things in a new light for me. There was a lot of strange choices I saw on stream, both in deck and actual play. That said, I hadn't been awake in a strange warehouse playing L5R for 13 games, or for 13 hours. So I might have had a different perspective on things that people who were actually there. But yeah, I think it was great that FFG actually put in that effort. Although I feel like they could easily have done this just a pure L5R event and given us theater days as well, because missing out on those 2 days was kind of rough.
Yeah, or just pay to fly us out and cover it. You know.
And the commentators got a lot of flack. It does look like they were kind of drafted last minute. And if that was the case, they were doing a really good job. And I think as it kind of went on, I'm gonna say they did a bit better. But that could certainly have been improved.
Yeah. Justin, how much did you get to catch over the weekend?
Not a huge amount, actually. I had a friend's wedding on the Saturday, so I got back just in time to see the latter half of the final. I caught a few other games just prior to the weekend, just kind of the Wednesday, Thursday. But yeah, not a huge amount, unfortunately. Not as much as I wanted to, for sure.
And any surprises in terms of results or decks or what you guys saw kind of turning up? Maybe Eoin first, kind of anything kind of catch you off guard from the environment or what you saw out there?
Dragon with the Phoenix Splash is very frustrating. I think it's weaker against Scorpion, and I think it's weaker against Crane, but it's a hell of a lot better against me. Because basically one of the key points that blew me out was he got a display of power off, and I was like, oh god, this is the worst. This is literally the worst. And that was a little bit strange, because I genuinely think the Dragon with Unicorn is better against Scorpion and Crane. So I don't know, but he got through to the top 4, so he must be doing okay.
Yeah.
Other than that, it really reinforced me how good Lion are. And because I sat down and watched a couple of Tim's games, and I was just like, yeah, there's a really good chance of Tim winning this. So when we did the Legend of the Seven podcasts on Friday night, files haven't gone out yet, but they will at some point. There was 7 different podcasts together in one room.
How was that? Tell me a little bit.
Yeah, we got 7 podcasts together. 6 Ring kind of were the driving force between organising it. So their suggestion was 1 representative from each podcast. So it was going to be the Legend of the 5 podcasts. And so by the time we decided to record, there were 7 podcasts at it. So we said, okay. And I volunteered.
Not as catchy a title, but...
Not as catchy as title, but we said, it represents all the clans. There's a crab, there's a dragon, there's 7, there's like 5 scorpion or whatever. So it was all good. So we had that one, and it was at least fun. We were around to talk about a couple of different topics, threw some ideas around, and then we did predictions. And I predicted Lion would win because I believe in Tim Wells. And although Tim didn't quite make it, Lion did win it. So I felt somewhat justified.
Right.
But yeah, Lion was my big, because I hadn't really got to play against Lion much, and watching them play, I was going like, wow, this is just possibly the most devastating end game of any clan at the moment. Like once they get set up, it's just like, yeah, you're not going to win the military conflicts against them.
Yeah.
Basically, you're certain of defending.
And Baz, anything surprise you in terms of any sort of standout sort of cards, decks, playstyles? Results.
I mean, there was a lot of stuff out there. I honestly, I was really surprised by how poorly Crab did. That was a bit of a shock. It really wasn't something I was expecting. And it wasn't just bad luck on Owen's part. Crab did poorly across the entire tournament from what we can see, which was a bit of a shocker. But I think that's kind of a sit down, reflect, and kind of consider how that happened, why that went wrong, and hopefully that'll give us a little bit more of an insight in how the actual game works. I mean, looking over it, we can see there was a decent amount of Dragon Splash. As far as I can see, the winning line was, the top Scorpion was, it looks like at least one of the top Phoenix was also splashing Dragon. We had a decent amount of Phoenix Splash, so we know the Crane were splashing Phoenix, top Crane was, and top Dragon was splashing Phoenix. The Phoenix Splash was something we were aware of in Dragon. I think that display of power really blows you out. They are also able to unbow your Yakuni, which can be crippling, and being able to easily honor things with the kimono is pretty nice. The Crab deck that actually finished top was very similar to the one Owen was running. And the Unicorn deck that we saw that came out top was close enough to what we were expecting. A couple of variations, but again, it was really trying to leverage on those line cards and just get those kind of charge for greater glory or cavalry reserves greater glory interactions, possibly because they kind of need power combinations like that to really get it going. But watching that game was fantastic. That Unicorn player was running it down to the wire and charging uphill to do it. So
cool. And I guess one of the kind of interesting stories was one of the Dragon Hatamoto gave up their Hatamoto to play Scorpion. Owen, did you have a sort of view on the ground of that, or?
I did actually, yeah. I'm going to say it's Brad Eamon was the guy who dropped his Hatamoto status for kind of interesting reasons. Interesting cat. His goal was to get in there, become Scorpion Hatamoto, or certainly top Scorpion, and basically pick a Seeker role for them, because he felt that Keeper of basically they get Keeper, they'll get a backhanded compliment, and backhanded compliment will lead to kind of a horrible play experience for a bunch of people. And rightly or wrongly, that was his goal. I think it was a bit in jest. He said, "Oh man, that'd be such a cool idea to do that." And he kind of was very enthusiastic about it. He wasn't being very negative about it so much. He was thinking, man, it'd be really cool if I could do this. And going to it from that point of view. Now, I was there when he was talking with Mark Armitage about it, and his point was basically like, I don't want to screw over the Scorpion, but I just don't want them getting Keeper. So for a while, he was kind of debating with Mark about it. And now I knew what Mark's mind was going in. And Mark had talked extensively with John Butler about this. And John Butler had said the right pick for Scorpion right now is Seeker of Void because of the Murderer's Row of provinces in Naples. So going into it, that was Mark's goal. Now, Brad was kind of leaning towards, I think, either Water or Void. I kind of made the point to them. I said, don't screw them. Don't give them Seeker of Fire. That'll just kill them, So he was either thinking about picking Water or picking Void. And Mark was going in, he supports this idea. He thinks it's really cool. This guy's trying to affect the storyline this way, affect the game that way. But I think Mark was always going to pick Seeker of Void, really. I don't know for that for certain, but I know Mark going into it wanted to pick Seeker of Void. So when Mark came, did a fantastic performance all the way up, played really well, all the way up to the semi-final. When fatigue, I think, started to play a role, Mark was always going Seeker of Void. And it was actually funny because we knew we were going to be last as a Crab, so we were plotting out, okay, who's picking what? So we did a ton of research on the ground about who was picking what to try and basically we said we're in the Hufflepuff slot. We desperately need to figure out what we can get out of this. And we looked through it and said, hang on a second. We know the line we're going to pick. I think it was Keeper of Fire. Keeper of Fire. Yeah. We knew Dragon were considering Seeker of Fire. Yeah. We knew that Crane were thinking of, I think, Seeker of Air, was it?
That's what they went for in the end, yeah.
Yeah. And then we said, okay, so that means that Scorpion are going to pick Seeker of Void. So, okay, at that stage, we're okay. We should be able to get a keeper. We're only in trouble if a Unicorn picked Keeper of Earth. And we thought that was very likely Unicorn were going to pick Keeper of Void. So we were actually like, this should be okay. This should work out all right for us. And in fact, we did get, a good choice in the end. So we're happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
But there was like the notion that this was done to basically try and destroy the Scorpion. That's not true.
I think, sorry, just having followed a little bit of it, that Mark sort of mentioned him in his sort of comment, Brad, saying, he sort of dedicated the win to him, and people took that as, that Brad decided this and swayed Mark purely to screw with the Scorpion clan, when clearly, I think, as you say, Mark had that plan the whole time and just was sort of giving a nod to Brad.
I absolutely think that's true, because Brad put in a big performance on the weekend and was very enthusiastic about the idea, and Mark was like, this is cool, this is a guy who really cares, and that's a great thing. Yeah. But like the notion that, they decided on the day to screw up the Scorpion, no, I was like, I think it was Void all along. Mark was considering it, was thinking about it, but I know John was in touch with them over the weekend, and they were like, yeah, Void is the pick they wanted. So, I think going that they've done this to destroy the Scorpion it's ridiculous.
Justin, any thoughts on role choices or on Hadamoto swapping?
No, I mean, as far as Hadamoto swapping goes, Brad is entitled to play the game the way he wants to play the game, as long as he's not breaking any rules. Then there is no one can say what he can and cannot do with his Hadamoto ship and with what he wants to achieve personally within the game. So, yeah. And as for the roles chosen, I can, I'll echo what Owen said. Seeker of Void was always the plan for Scorpion. Well, at least Seeker of Void was always the plan for John and Mark. Obviously, I don't want to speak for all the other Scorpion who may have had other ideas, but no, that was always their intention. And speaking as I'm playing Phoenix, and so I've played with Seeker of Void, and Seeker of Void is incredible. It gives you the strongest province selection in the game, and Scorpion are probably the best defensive map in the game. So they now have the best defensive abilities coupled with the most lethal set provinces in the game, which is incredibly strong for them. So anyone thinks that it's a bad pick or an attempted sabotage of the clan, no, you're completely wrong. Like Seeker of Void, the best province selection in the game, and provinces make a huge difference. So yeah, I don't understand. Well, I don't understand what the furor is about outside, the usual internet outrage machine.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
it's just the outrage machine. That's all it is. It's just people looking to get wound up about stuff.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, yeah, just it's a fantastic pick for Scorpion. It really is. So, and yeah,
cool. Baz, any thoughts on the choices of roles going forward? Anything stand out for you?
I honestly think everyone came out of this really, really well. Like Lion with Keeper Fire, Crane, Seeker of Air, like all the way through them, it makes perfect sense for these clans to have these particular roles. There are card combinations that they've got access to that are from what I can see the optimal ones. I know a lot of people, don't like the idea of seeing cards being printed for their faction that they're not going to be able to play for a good chunk of time. But this is what we knew was going to happen. No matter what, whether it was Seeker or it was Keeper, there was going to be one or two people or several people who were going to be upset one way or the other. There was no way for everyone to be happy because you just weren't going to get to play all of the cards. The choices that the top of clans, those players who prove themselves worthy to make these decisions, I think they're all excellent choices and open up a lot of really, really interesting options.